welcome to this panel, Cristina and Yimei. A lot of the conversations we've had here historically at this event and also on the MAD podcast that we started a few months ago have been about startups, which are typically vendors of technology. But I think equally interesting is the customer side of the equation. So companies that could be in finance, in healthcare or transportation or commerce that take those technologies, data, machine learning and AI, make them their own, customize them, build them into their products to serve their customers. So from that perspective, I'm very excited to have this conversation tonight about how Moody's has been using these technologies for your products, machine learning in general and generative AI in particular. And we're going to talk about the generative AI assistant that you just launched. So with me tonight, I have Cristina Pieretti, who's General Manager and Head of Digital Insights, and then Yimei Fan, who's Director of Machine Learning. So starting from the top, can you introduce Moody's and more specifically Moody's Analytics, which is a unit?
Yeah, of course. So it's funny, as you were talking, Matt, and you were talking about your anniversary. So I think when we first met, it was 2017. And we had just founded the Moody's Analytics Accelerator, which was our innovation unit. And we were very keen in understanding what was the environment, what were startups doing so we could partner and accelerate our innovation pace. I remember at that point, actually, we created one of our first machine learning products. We've been using machine learning on the modeling side for a long time, but we created a product that used to leverage machine learning, deep learning, and it's a very successful product. Fast forward, 6 years afterwards, I'm actually managing probably the first unit of Moody's Analytics, and I'll go back to what Moody's Analytics is. The one that has more stable growth, ironically, it's the one unit that is launching our first Gen AI driven product. So I think it's a great story from how you can innovate from very different start points. Like when we're in the accelerator, we're looking at very small companies and how we started ventures from scratch. And now we, surprisingly, the unit that is launching the first product is probably our older unit in Moody's Analytics. Just to go quickly on Moody's Analytics, we founded the company in 2007. It's an affiliate of the rating agency, which is what Moody's has been known for many years. I would say one easy way, but not the proper way to describe. It's everything that is not ratings and research produced to the issuer community is Moody's Analytics. But basically what we do here, we are going to provide data, information, data, analytics, insights, and solutions to different market participants, including banks, asset managers, and insurance, and corporates, so they can evaluate their risk in an integrated manner, and then make solutions that address those risks and allows them to take advantage of their opportunities in a faster, reliable way. And we can talk more about that.
Great, and quick word on your role, maybe both of you.
Yes, so I've been here for 16 years. And one of the things I love about working here, big plug for Moody's, is a change. So I think this is my 7th role here. I manage probably it's our flagship credit research product, which is, I manage Moody's.com. My unit manages Moody's.com as a platform, and then all the research and insights and data that comes out of the rating agency is commercialized through the unit, which is called Digital Insights. Yimei?
I've been with Moody's for 5 years. In fact, the first group I joined is the Accelerator group, and the first application I was building is the one you just describing. But now we're particularly working on the generative AI enablement. So we want to create applications and develop the use cases to support internal customers as well as external ones.
Well, so you just touched upon it, but maybe to wrap it up. So Moody's has had history with machine learning and AI. So you mentioned some of it, but like when did it start? Who has been doing this?
So I would say traditionally it was mostly our quant groups, right? So we have a lot of quantitative models, and of course they've been leveraging, since I've been here, a lot of different quant models. I wouldn't be able to talk about them, but it was always the enhancements on our predictive modeling were always based on machine learning. Then, the whole fintech disruption comes. We start looking at technology and saying, what does this mean for us? What does it mean for our customers? Our banks and insurance companies are going to be disrupted as a result. And what should we do? And that's when we create the accelerator. And then one of the first priorities was, okay, what we can do with machine learning. So that was, I would say, a kind of a re-underwriting our focus on machine learning. That happened in 2016. Since then, I would say we're doing several things. Yimei can talk a little bit more about the applications. One of the ones I'm more particularly excited because we just launched it on Friday is one leveraging Gen AI, which is called Research Assistant. I can talk a little bit more, but I don't want to steal the thunder from Yimei.
For sure. So I would like to add my view. I think Moody's always been an early adopter for machine learning. So in the early days, we did use machine learning models for predictive modelings instead of using some classic techniques. For example, we use the tree-based models and neural networks for predicting financial and compliance risks. And then as a data scientist myself, traditionally we've been doing some manually handcrafting feature engineers in order to build into the models. Then we actually automated the feature engineering process, for example, using transformer models to extract features from massive text data. I personally feel very lucky because for those years we've been doing machine learning, I think we are more than ready. When Gen AI came, we have the right people, right team, and the existing system can support that.
Very good. All right, so switching to generative AI, tell us about the use case, a little about the product, the use case, and how you've been thinking about generative AI.
So maybe I'll tell you a little bit of an anecdote internally. So I remember I report to the president of Moody's Analytics, and I think it was, I don't know, Caroline, it was early year or even 2022, but he became obsessed. And I think that talks a lot about why we've been able to do this, right? So you have the president of Moody's Analytics obsessed. Suddenly, the CEO is also talking about, are you seeing what ChatGPT is doing? This is really transformational. We have to understand what this means for our business. And I think you cannot take that lightly because that's empower us to spend time to carve out resources from our business as usual to see what we can do with this technology, right? Very quickly then we roll out, and Yimei can talk a lot about this part, we did roll out our co-pilot to all the employees in Moody, so that's 14,000 people, and we were very proud of said we have 14,000 innovators. We see it with some of the customers that probably for the right reasons, I'm not going to question the motive, but it's more about we're going to protect ourselves from there. We decided to embrace and say, and try to understand what does it mean for us? What does it mean for us in terms of new products? What does it mean for us in the terms we're going to operate? Can we operate more efficiently as an example, right? And then fast forward around 7 months ago, we had started, we had a group of developers working, trying to understand again, what could we do with it? And on Friday, we launched our first Gen AI-enabled product. It's basically, should I give the examples of the product? Should I talk about the product?
It's called Research Assistant.
It's called Research Assistant, and basically what it does, it's we use ChatGPT-4 as the LLM, although we've tried we talked about in our prep, we have tried different large language models. And we've also developed our own RAG. I don't think I have to explain to this audience what a RAG is, but I think that's what we're more proud of, right? Because what the RAG allows us, it's several things. It's one, anybody that talks about Gen AI has always is it going to be fake information? You talk to a bank or an insurance company, they're going to say, can I really trust this? Well, we cannot assure that it's not going to say the wrong things, but we've spent a lot of time making sure that it's only feed by Moody's data, and that that it doesn't go out and say, well, I still know the answer for that question, although it's not in the Moody's data. We've said, no, if you don't know the answer, you say don't know. If you know the answer, you're only looking at the Moody's data. That's one advantage. The second advantage is real time. So because we haven't trained the model, but we've used a RAG, we're always able to surface the latest information that we publish, right? And the third thing is we always give citations. So that has become pretty powerful for the customers.
Yes, and I'd love to double click on all of this just to make sure it's clear to everyone. This is a credit analysis tool.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Thank you, because I was so passionate about the rest that I forgot to say what it is. So thank you. So this is going to answer any type of questions that someone would have when they're analyzing, monitoring, doing benchmark of companies, and they want to know about their ratings, their sector outlook, their peers, or what's the credit profile of the company. So as of now, It's leveraging only the information that comes from the rating agency. So it's all the ratings and the research that come from the rating agency. In the future, we plan to expand. But as of now, it's leveraging that corpus of data, which is pretty huge.
Which is why 100% accuracy is usually important, right? There's certain areas where you can have the LLM hallucinate, credit analysis, where billions of dollars worth of decisions are made. It's probably not where you want to
Exactly.
experiment.
And if you look at our customers, who are our customers? It's banks, insurance companies, asset managers, governments, corporates, and they're making decisions either because they're going to make a loan, they're going to make an investment, or they're going to enter a third party, some sort of commercial relationship with a third party. They have to be pretty sure or pretty certain about their credit profile. So hallucinations are going to be, pretty dangerous in that case, right? So very important to try to mitigate them as much as you can.
Great. Could you maybe both double click on some of the things you mentioned? So you chose GPT-4, but you mentioned you looked at others. So why? What was the decision process? How did you evaluate? And then going into RAG, maybe what tools do you use? What database? How it works from a technical standpoint?
Okay, so I'm not the technical person here, so I'm going to pass it to Yimei, but first I'm going to maybe preface of how we look. We're always looking at new things, right? I think we're very passionate about tech and making sure we are at the cutting edge of it. And the other thing, I'm kind of obsessed, and I think my team is obsessed on making sure that we're not dependent on one technology, but we have the flexibility to switch as time goes by, right? So we did look, and we're constantly looking at different LLMs and things that are coming. We did go with, in our testing, and also we have an alliance with Microsoft that it's very public. ChatGPT was the one, OpenAI was the one that was performing better in over different parameters, right? That said, I do want to emphasize that we want to develop, and we want to keep developing in a very flexible way, so we're always able to take advantage of what's the best technology out there.
And from the business perspective, you have to balance out the capacity versus the latency and everything. So I think ChatGPT is definitely one of the top options for a lot of applications. And in terms of the RAG, I have to say Cristina and her team did an awesome job, because it's not simply just using ChatGPT. Has the end-to-end, it's an end-to-end system. Essentially, you retrieve data, and the retriever system, her team has been developed and iterated many rounds, so it performed really great, because it has to retrieve the right content to make sure it's the correct content to get into the large language model.
And how did you evaluate this? You literally had a team of folks sit down and look at the answers and compare GPT-4 against another one. How does one evaluate, I guess?
We do have this was very interesting, right? Because we have squads dedicated to different parts of the different features or type of features that we develop, and we develop, I would say around a squad to look at the different technologies and yes, evaluate what was what were the results, what was the accuracy, where were we seeing hallucinations, what was the performance. So that's basically, and I would say that's the majority of the time we spend. We first started working this 7 months ago. I would say a big chunk of the time we spent it evaluating that, as opposed to building more features, right? We have a very aggressive roadmap or ambitious roadmap, but we wanted to make sure that it worked the right way. I did want to emphasize on the RAG. When you think about the combination, and I think that's something that I'm still trying to understand, but I think it's pretty amazing. The part where we're using the LLM, it's, we get a question from someone. So you are asking me, give me a peer comparison of the credit profile of Ford, Tesla, and GM, for example. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the LLM and send that query, and the LLM is going to be able to identify the companies as entities, and it's going to be able to identify the intent. So Matt is asking about the credit profile, so this is the type of, so then we come back with that, and we use our RAG to say, okay, based on what the intent, you should look at the information here, here, and here. To me, that's the most valuable part, how we've been able to train that RAG, and that's where we spend the more work, right? Microsoft is doing their work on the LLM. Then we retrieve that, send it to the LLM for kind of translation purposes, and there you have your question.
Very good. So maybe taking a step back from a research assistant. So you mentioned a deployment to 14,000 people, which is insane and very impressive. So how would you say your employees have been affected by generative AI? Have habits changed in anything they do?
Maybe I should take this.
Yeah, you should take this because I was going to say, sorry, I'm talking so much, so go ahead.
I wanted first to start with the Copilot because Cristina, you mentioned earlier Copilot. I want everyone walk away and thinking this is not GitHub Copilot, this is not Microsoft Copilot, this is Moody's Copilot. So what is Moody's Copilot? It's essentially a multifunctional assistant with large language model. So imagine back the time, historically, you need to do data analysis with SQL database. And so you go to one application, you might write some code, and you get your insights. Or if you want to ask some question about Moody's internal policy, and then you have to go another application and maybe build your own retrieval system to accomplish that. And now with Moody's Copilot, essentially, I would call this a one-stop shop. That replace those dedicated applications. So it performs different tasks with different kinds of data. So for example, you can ask questions about spreadsheets. You can ask a question about a PDF document. Not only it will provide you the answer, it will tell you where answer lays. And also you can ask questions about Moody's internal policy now. So in my opinion, Moody's Copilot is definitely one thing that we noticed people start using a lot. We launched back on Slack, then on Teams app, then Web UI. We've seen now actively, I would say more than 10,000 users are using this. So it's clear that people are integrated into their workflow. And we also launched a GitHub Copilot experimentation, and we measured that there's 40% performance efficiency improvements for our engineers. So those are the great benefit for our internal employees as well as for our customers.
So it sounds like you've done a lot of groundbreaking work, and that you have a team and all the things in addition to working with vendors. Like, how would you say you engage with the broader generative AI ecosystem in terms of partnerships or who you'd like to work with?
You want to take it? Or you wanted me to? Well, I would say I would start with two of the biggest. So we have a strategic alliance with Microsoft, right? Where we part of it is we are using, as I mentioned before, OpenAI, but we're also, for example, we're integrating some of our content and some content we're developing through these initiatives in their Teams app. That's one example. We have another partnership with Google where we're we're working together to leverage Gen AI to be able to extract more information from financial statements. Financial statements, not the ones that are published at the 10Ks that go through XBRL. Those are easy to read, but financial statements can be extremely unstructured. So we also have a partnership to. And then what else would you talk about? What other engagements we have?
I would say one of the most important engagements through working with those external partners, also internal tech groups, we made sure that, for example, Moody's Copilot is something like we had the right data protocol in place, and because our customers really cares about the data privacy. So we made sure that Moody's Copilot or Research Assistant has that in place. So you cannot be, unlike ChatGPT, you can go there and ask silly questions or trying to jailbreak. You cannot do that with Moody's Copilot or Moody's Research Assistant. So I think that's one thing I would definitely add on.
And maybe to close, and we'll open up for one or two questions if people have any. Let's talk about the future. Anything on the roadmap, or maybe any prediction about where you see all of this going at Moody's or even beyond?
Well, what's in the roadmap? We're just launching, right? We've had around 40 customers in preview, and the feedback has been amazing. One of the I found very relevant. So when you think about how you use Research Assistant, as I said, you're going to have customers that come to make a lending investment decision, right? And what they do is first they have to retrieve a lot of information. And we've observed up to 80% efficiency gains on that retrieval of the information. From there, once you retrieve the information, you're going to do analysis. And we've observed up to 50% on the analysis. And then so you synthesize the information, you make your investment. So in the whole workflow of what are the usual customers of what would be a research assistant, we are estimating around 20% efficiencies. So that's a game changer for them. That means less people that need to be focused on repetitive tasks and more people that have to be focused on value-added tasks. So with that, what we're planning, it's, we want to make it not only about the content that comes from the rating agency, but have more content. All the content across Moody's should be surfaced through that. And then I think the other thing is, as Yimei talked, we want to do more of this, right? So for example, the development team that has been working on this, they're day in and day out using more of GitHub and looking at new technology. So, I think this is only the tip of the iceberg, and we're into very interesting things. What else would you add?
I would add we're trying to drive the innovations as well as the research. So for example, we want to make sure if there's new technology available, we make it available to our employees so they can start playing around and thinking about how they can support their customers. We also want to help the research, for example, like Cristina was mentioning, benchmarking different large language models so we can tailor it for our customers' needs. And actually, I want to bring up the open source idea for Moody's Copilot. So as I mentioned, Moody's Copilot is a modular platform that you can easily add in more Moody's proprietary data as well as adding more functionalities. We want to do this through an open source way, so we open to every Moody's innovators that they can contribute and collaborate so we can move this in a much faster pace. One example, actually, so Moody's Copilot already has some core components, and the infrastructure and architecture is already set up. So if Moody's other operation unit wants to build their own application, they can come use the existing ones, and they can deploy within a day. Or if they want to take some of the existing components and add the modification, they can also deploy in a much faster pace as well. And I want to mention a number. Since we started since March, we have our GitHub repository over almost 2,000 commits.
Amazing.
That's great.
Wonderful.
Good.
Great. Well, on this note, Cristina and Yimei, thank you very much.